What's going on, everyone? It is time to play with another new leader in Barriss today. Everyone's hated slash favorite character. We're going to be playing with a lot of events and going with that Force synergy. It's going to be a pretty cool one because we get to play with a ton of the new events today, as well as, well, a ton of new cards. Before we get started, a big thank you to my patrons over on Patreon, guys. I also have a TCG player link in the description down below if you want to pick up any set 5 cards. And let's talk about Barriss and what we're doing today. So we've got this action to use the Force. We could play an event from our hand. It costs 1 less. Pretty straightforward, very strong. So instead of going with like Mystic Monastery to only use this 3 times in a game, I decided to go full on with the Force base. And when I say Force base, I usually refer to the common ones, the ones that make it so that when you have a Force unit attack, you can generate the Force. With Vigilance Barriss, you have actually quite a few options. You have the new Karis, which is that 2/4 that actually does have a relevant when defeated ability. You've got Secretive Sage, which is a 2/2 shielded, basically Crafty Smuggler, but with the Force tag. So 2 very, very strong turn 1 plays. But in Cunning, there's actually not that many options. So we also have Kylo Ren here as another one. That gives us 8 total turn 1 plays that can generate the Force on turn 2 for us. But then we also have Shin, Darth Tyrannus, Talisman's Assassin, Balin's Skull, and Darth Vader as other Force units. So hopefully we get one of those down, but we don't really want to be playing a ton of really, really mediocre Force cards to generate the Force when the payoff is, although good, not good enough to make up for some of those bad cards. So what are we doing instead? Well, we have, as I said, other Force units, and we just have good events that we would play in our deck no matter what. Things like Waylay or No Good to Me Dead are always great in a Cunning Villainy deck. We've got things like Surprise Strike, which are really, really nice as a sort of like not aggro deck in this list, but it's definitely leaning towards that way. We've got things like Xian Flurry, which are great. This one is actually for Darth Vader. The idea is we can still ECL Darth Vader essentially with Xian Flurry and Darth Vader in our hand. With Barriss, it's going to just cost 6, which is amazing. We've got things like Suresu Stance, which if we have the Force, we can go ahead and basically give a free shield token to a Force unit, which is really, really nice. We've got a couple different options across the board, which, well, hopefully are going to gain us value. But what's interesting about this is we're actually sort of playing, like I said, a little bit more of an aggro-centric list. Like we're looking to get in damage and disrupt our opponents, and then utilize things like Darth Tyrannus, who's going to ambush out with the Force, or Talisman's Assassin, who's going to come down and give something -3/-3 to disrupt our opponent, and then just close out the game slowly as we go along. One of the kind of outliers here is Axe, and I was trying to figure out what to put in this 3-drop slot, because I didn't just want Shin as our only 3-drop, and I went with Axe, mainly because Covert Strength is a really nice one, just because it's a nice event that we can play essentially for free if we have the Force, as well as getting a little bit of extra value from our Smuggle pile. And we have the Hotshot Blaster, which I wanted to play just because it's such a powerful card with things like Crafty Smuggler, Director Krennic, Axe, and Secretive Sage, have these shielded units. And guess what? Axe just gets that much better, or makes Hotshot Blaster that much better. Otherwise, just a 3/3 shielded, which is still solid. So overall, a couple of events, a couple of units. We've got a Surprise Overwhelming Barrage, which we can play when Barriss comes down for 6 resources, assuming we have the Force, which is another nice one. And we're going to see what we could do today with Barriss. Let's dive into it. Into our game against Iden here. Our first game. What do we got? A reasonable hand. I just mulliganed in from a pretty horrible hand with like no turn 1 play, no turn 2 play. But this is a much better one. I do think that we're going to struggle a lot up against the Iden player here. We definitely are more focused towards units. So not having a lot of options here up against my opponent is going to be a little bit more tricky. Hotshot Blaster is pretty good though, and I think what we'll do here is kind of just start off with a Shin here, because if my opponent wants to attack, I am kind of okay with that. Otherwise, I'm just going to claim initiative here, and yeah, it's not great. It's not great by any means. We'll see what they decide to do. They're going to attack the layer. Okay. Ooh, Xian Flurry is a pretty nice one. I think in this spot, I will just go ahead and attack Pike Sentinel. They can then go ahead and finish off my Shin with their Super Laser Technician, which obviously they're going to do. And then we're going to attack in with the Karis here. definitely, again, not exciting whatsoever here. They get to even stall an action with Iden so that we don't even get ambushed, or we don't even get Darth Tyrannus value. Oh, they're gonna have no plays. Well, you know, I mean, that's also something that they can definitely do here. One of the overwhelming barrages, we're gonna go ahead and resource here. We do have a pretty strong discard pile, or a resource pile right now, that I can definitely utilize for Barriss here, but we'll see what they've got. I'm a little bit nervous because I think we just lost in this game. My opponent's playing a little bit more high value deck, and we definitely had a little bit of a blockade here with the Pike Sentinel, so definitely something that's a little bit scary. What do I want to do here? Do I want to attack Iden, or do I just want to ignore Iden? What does my opponent have? So if they have like overwhelming barrage, it's really bad if we don't attack Iden. So we will give Iden -2/-2. If they have power of the dark side, it's fine. It's not great for us. But if they have overwhelming barrage, no glory, that's kind of the same thing. Claim initiative, they're gonna, you know, do their thing. We've got Darth Tyrannus, which unfortunately we can't really utilize here. But we can go ahead and hotshot Blaster if we wanted to, which I think I'll do. I think I'll just knock out Iden here, because if I sit back and kind of try to play Barriss and do all this nonsense, then the game just really sucks for us. Like, it just really sucks. And here they're gonna play their Darth Vader, which is fine. We are probably just going to claim initiative because we're gonna go Xian Flurry with Darth Vader. I mean, my opponent's probably playing just like a hard control list, which means we are probably losing here, or a soft control list, which we're probably just losing here because they're gonna have the higher value plays. But we do have a Xian Flurry to, you know, give a shield token here and trigger, hit this. But the problem is that we're still getting 2 for 1 here, and my opponent just kind of can sequence their plays to where it's really tough for us to really get ahead in the game. Super Laser Blast is something we constantly have to think about. Avengers can come down and completely wreck our game plan. It's just nightmare scenario after nightmare scenario with this one. They're gonna claim initiative, huh? Well, they probably have Avenger. If I was my opponent, I would do that if I had Avenger. Which means I think what we do is we actually deploy Barriss here. Not a exciting play, by the way. Not an exciting play, but I believe they have Avenger here. Yep, that's exactly what they had. So they had the Avenger. Not great. Again, very not great. But we get to go ahead and hotshot Blaster in, get some damage in, and then they're going to go ahead and do their nonsense, which means we're just going to claim initiative. We're going to be able to play Overwhelming Barrage here and at least knock out a little bit of value here, or a little bit of the Avenger. So we get to use the Overwhelming Barrage on this to hit the Avenger for 8. But again, they probably have Super Laser Blast here, which means we just lose our Barriss. And if I was my opponent, I would just do that, right? Kind of a no questions asked, just drop a Super Laser Blast on the Barriss or a Devastator, and that's going to be GG. This is what I was kind of saying, is like my opponent's playing the soft control deck, and we're kind of playing a disruptive with like Waylays and No Good To Me Deads, which are not exactly the game plan. We would have to definitely sideboard in for that one. Things like TIE Phantom could definitely be pretty good, and just in general, kind of get rid of our more unit interactive stuff. Into the next matchup, and we get ourselves a pretty good hand. I'm actually going to start with the Kylo Ren just because, and actually I probably should have just resourced the No Good To Me Dead. I'm fighting against double Yellow Thrawn. This could be a lot of different things here. Cunning obviously is one that we got to think about, and Zuckuss is the other. Zuckuss is the one that can definitely get in chunks of damage. I kept the Kylo Ren, but I should have also kept the Director Krennic because there's no guarantee I'm going to get a turn 2 play here, and that means that I may just have to go covert strength on Kylo, which is not good at all. But we'll see. We will see. Hopefully we get something a little bit better. Let's see what my opponent's going to play here on turn 1. Cartel Spacer. Fine. Kylo Ren seems pretty good here. Crafty Smuggler and Karis. Great. I'll keep the Karis here. That is a nice play to pick up. What is my opponent going to do? Waylay. Waylay would be pretty weak here, so I would be happy if they just go ahead and waylay. Gonna attack to generate the force here. We would really very much like to generate the force. We're gonna go play Karis, and they're gonna claim initiative. We'll see if they knock out Kylo Ren here, which if they do, that's actually kind of okay with us. Actually, I think Balin's the resource here. I'd rather have double Darth Tyrannus at this point, because we can knock out Boba Fett and we'll be left with a 4-3. So not exciting, but it's okay. Forlom here, knock out who? Karis or Kylo? Okay, I mean, we will just go ahead and trade, I suppose. Not that that is an exciting play by any means, but you know what? Here, we can't really attack Boba Fett. We're going to play out the Darth Tyrannus, no force usage. So Forlom, not actually that great. I think if I was my opponent, I would have attacked the Kylo with it, because then that would have given us the option, or the kind of the forced choice of, you know, dealing with one of their units. But yeah, the Forlom, not too scary here. Boba Fett obviously putting a wrench in the plan. Right now, they're just kind of playing a little bit more high value units, but these two were a very, very good combination of draws, so I really do quite like that. Talzin's Assassin's looking pretty good. I think I'm going to get rid of the no good to me dead here, and I am just going to knock out Boba Fett with this Darth Tyrannus here. And then we can use Talzin's Assassin to knock out the Cartel Spacer. So again, very, very high value plays with the Talzin's Assassin. Darth Tyrannus probably going to get finished off here. We have a surprise strike to deal with that Zuckuss, which we're probably just going to use here right off the bat, because Zuckuss can go ahead and attack for 8, and we don't really want that. We don't really want that at all. So surprise strike, attack Zuckuss, get that out of here. Out of here. And then we have the Overwhelming Barrage to follow up. There is part 2 of Zuckuss, huh? I think what we'll do is we will deploy Barriss here. And then we'll see what my opponent decides to do. They're going to reveal Shin Hati. All right, let's go ahead and just shield, ambush, hit Zuckuss. And then we'll see what my opponent decides to do with this Thrawn. Kind of don't care what they do here. I wanted to play Darth Tyrannus before I did anything else, because my opponent could deploy Thrawn, attack Tyrannus, and then exhaust another unit, which is actually totally okay with me. If they do that, I think, yeah, I think what I'll do is I'll attack Thrawn here for 4, and then they can attack Tyrannus and then exhaust the Talzin's Assassin. I imagine there's going to be something on the top of their deck that they can reveal. And the reason I'm doing this is because next turn I'm going to have the Overwhelming Barrage to knock out both these units. And then, oh, well, that was something. A little bit surprised at kind of how that went down, but hey, you know what? I'm not going to complain all that much. Yeah, we're just going to go ahead and utilize Overwhelming Barrage here and knock out these 2 units on Talzin's Assassin, because if they play something massive, it's possible that I would want to attack that. But Cunning here, totally fine. If they are using Cunning just to stall us out and discard a card, I could not care less. This is like ideal scenario for us. Using one of their most powerful cards just to stall out the game, totally okay with me. Now what we can do is start off with a Talzin's Assassin attack to generate the force, so that we have the force set up for maybe a waylay, maybe a Trust Your Instincts. maybe a hotshot blaster, maybe a covert strength. I mean, we have so many options here. I just want to generate the force and then see what my opponent's going to do. I don't really know what they could have at this point that can really bring them back here, mainly because we're just going to start deploying, units. And obviously Greedo's super cheap, giving you a little bit of value there, which is not bad. Cad Bane, huh? Cad Bane can go ahead and grab both of those, but that's actually totally fine, because what we can do is covert strength this, and then we can actually just trust your instincts, knock out Cad Bane, get both of these back. And Barriss is totally fine. Now, Shin does lose her shield, which is a little bit unfortunate, but still really, really solid for us to get back both units and deal with one of the most powerful plays that they probably will have, period. We'll see what they can follow up with. Obviously, another Cad Bane would be pretty good, but we do have waylays to deal with Cad Bane. It will just stall out the game over and over and over again, which is kind of annoying, but, that can definitely happen. Oh, they're going to attack Barriss. Oh, they're risking it. They are risking it, huh? That is very, very scary to do. We're going to use Hotshot Blasters to get in some damage on Talzin's Assassin. They can go Cad Bane again, which is fine. Actually, with that, I probably should have... No, we already took out one Cad Bane. There's no reason for us to expect that there's another one coming necessarily. Double Overwhelming Barrage. I mean, really good pickups here. My opponent just had Cad Bane and the Cad Bane, or Cunning into Cad Bane and the Cad Bane, which is going to stall out the game for sure. I'm surprised they didn't just kill Shin here, to be honest. But maybe they were just, hey, I don't have an out if I don't hit with this Greedo. Very, very possible that is the case. Cad Bane probably their best play. They can absorb all of my units here, but then we have Overwhelming Barrage to, obviously do its thing. Overwhelming Barrage, hit this for 7. Get back our units. What do you have, opponent? And we're just going to go back and forth with all this bounce and cunning and all this nonsense. Let's go ahead and attack. Pass. Hotshot Blaster into the resource pile. I mean, obviously we're winning. There's nothing my opponent can do here. Even like Cad Banes are really not good. Cad Banes are only like exceptional when you are got pressure on the board, when you're really disrupting your opponent. Your opponent has to deal with Cad Bane and deal with the other units. But when it's like behind like this, usually Cad Bane, sometimes Cad Bane can be, the answer, but usually it's going to be pretty tough for your opponent to do a whole lot. I do like the Double Yellow Thrawn, though. This has been a list that I've been wanting to play a lot myself, so cool to see that it's in action. Just, definitely got outvalued this game. We got the triple Overwhelming Barrage draw, which helps us out for sure. The Trust Your Instincts actually ended up being exceptional here as well. Getting that essentially super first shoot first is pretty nice. Waiting for my opponent to make their action. I don't think they can have anything. Like, yes, they can exhaust, bounce, which will stall out the game, potentially, if we didn't have Hotshot Blaster. But yeah, my opponent is really trying hard here to do their thing. Oh. All right, well, they're just giving up, I guess. So, GG. GG to my opponent. It didn't really matter. I thought they were going to try to stall out by doing the Exoxylox bounce, but they gave us the +4/+0 to finish out the game. So GG. Into the next game, we got ourselves, I was going to say Vader blue, but Obi-Wan blue here. Mulliganing our first hand into a hand that's honestly not all that fantastic. Definitely think we're going to be losing this one up against Obi-Wan, especially if they have like a Jedi Consular or something. Guys, what do we know? It's Jedi Consular on turn 1, which is definitely not something that we want to see at all. No force units on turn 1 or turn 2. That is one of the downsides of this deck to try to get it functioning. But yeah, my opponent can play a 5-drop here, and it is going to not be nice for us. It is not going to be nice at all. We are going to just attack in for 2. My opponent's going to go with the experience token. They don't have a play with the Jedi Consular, I suppose, which is really nice for us. I was a little bit worried there that we would have to deal with some sort of bigger play. Another Krennic, not something that I want to see. Our overall hand is pretty bad, so I don't like that at all. Don't really have an answer to anything my opponent is doing right now, which is also not that fantastic. But hey, you know what? We may still get there. We got a lot of crafty smugglers. I would have really liked to see some sort of event here, but we're not quite getting there. We're going to go covert strength on the axe just to make it a 5-5, which means that my opponent, they have to kind of give the shield token over to Obi-Wan. And if they do, or the experience token rather, if they do, then we can knock out Jedi Consular so they don't play anything too crazy. Or they could just go Jedi Consular, you know, play something big and give Sentinel to Obi-Wan. Oh, they're going to Shatter Point. All right, well, that's pretty good too. That is pretty good, guys. Shatter Point. Yep, I think we're going to be losing this game. Like I said, not a great hand into, well, no turn one plays into pretty poor secondary hand. And we've drawn all of our 2-drops. Double Director Krennic, double Crafty Smuggler, Kylo Ren, and the Secretive Sage. Not exactly what we want to see. I mean, we can attack base, but I think that we're going to really struggle. Jedi Consular, what can they play? If it's like a Kylo Ren back, we really, yeah, Luke is going to be a GG to our opponents. Honestly, this is one of those situations where if we had like a Waylay on turn 2, maybe we could have done something, but we didn't even have the initiative. So even in that situation, it's just tough. The Jedi Consular turn 1 against like Obi Blue is just one of the best plays in the format right now. All right, we got Han 2 Blue. This is one of those decks that I actually just fought earlier when I was kind of just messing around with the deck before I started recording. And well, it was definitely pretty scary. Mainly because if my opponent has Ogdo Bogdo here on turn 1, I should have resourced Karis and a Hotshot Blaster, but I didn't want the Karis, so I don't think it's really gonna matter, but I should have resourced the Hotshot Blaster. So as I was saying, Ogdo Bogdo turn 1 up against like Karis is absolutely brutal. It is so disgustingly bad for us because it just ruins our entire strategy. Like we have to attack Ogdo Bogdo in order to go ahead and at least allow us to play the game. And by doing so, it just ruins our whole curve. If we have like Karis or even like the shielded units, it can really be nasty for our opponents to deal with. All right, we're gonna go ahead and claim initiative here, and Xian Flurry can be pretty good. I'm actually going to just kill off Yaddle here with the Shin, and then probably kill off the Phantom 2 with our Talzin's Assassin, and I will go ahead and do so. I did it this way so that they couldn't get an attack with Yaddle. I'd rather them not restore one versus hitting me for 5, because I think we're decently positioned in this game. Kiadi Mundi, draw a couple cards. That's fine. I'll attack the base for 2 to generate the Force again, and then both of my units will just trade with Kiadi, most likely. Covert Strength can go into the resource pile here. Bunch of events that we can play this turn, Kylo Ren included. We'll see what my opponent wants to do here. And they're going to attack base. I think that's kind of interesting here. I think we'll just play out a Kylo Ren just to see what my opponent's going to do. Because we could go Covert Strength on Talzin's Assassin to knock out Kiadi. Obviously, we have the Hotshot Blaster to knock out Han immediately if they were to deploy him. It's Mace Windu here, huh? Mace Windu is pretty good. Mace Windu is pretty good. Let's go ahead and, I mean, we're just going to knock out the Mace Windu here. Definitely a strong play for my opponent. And then here we will just go Hotshot Blaster into Kiadi. We just got to take out some of their units here. We could play this tempo game, but again, my opponent's playing Han, which means that they have just so much value. We have to kind of recover on the next turn when Barriss gets deployed. And then hopefully with the Xian Flurry, we can draw Vader or something to really mess up my opponent. That's kind of the current game plan here. Let's claim initiative. Another Overwhelming Barrage. That can definitely do some work here. I don't mind that one at all, actually. I think we are definitely turning the corner here. And we'll see what my opponent wants to do. We're going to deploy Barriss here as our starting action. They have 7 resources potentially, which means they can go like Luke Skywalker here. If they do, that's really, really tough for us because they can knock out our Secretive Sage. They have Rebellious Hammerhead. And that's also not a fantastic play to see for us. Let's go ahead and play out the Overwhelming Barrage on the Barriss and just get in for some damage. Get in for 6. Get in for another 2. Pass. Shin and Director Krennic, not exactly all that exciting of plays. Overwhelming Barrage, not quite enough to get there against this Rebellious Hammerhead. Looking for Vader is really what I want. Let's go Hotshot Blaster in with Barriss. The reason I'm doing this is just because we really, 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 oh my gosh, you know what would be great right now? A Vader. We could go Overwhelming Barrage next turn, which can wipe out a lot here. They have Confiscate. Oh, never mind. The game is over. We don't really have an answer to that. Ugh. That is tough. Confiscate is absolutely brutal for us, by the way. We don't even have the ability to knock out Anakin with this. It is GG to my opponent. The Confiscate, the Confiscate was so brutal. Oh my gosh. If they didn't have Confiscate, the game would have been... obviously, if we draw Vader, it would have been, potentially interesting for us. But if they didn't have Confiscate, it was, like, actually winnable. Because what we do here is we go... either Overwhelming Barrage, knock out the Rebellious Hammerhead, then kill Anakin, assuming they have not too many things to play. But in that case, we drew the Hotshot Blaster, which means we could have knocked out Anakin potentially. There's so many different options that we would have had there. I think the answer I would have gone with, because we have 17 damage on the base, so we have essentially 6 power right now with Barriss. We go Overwhelming Barrage, we knock out the Rebellious Hammerhead. That brings it up to 8 power. And then we have the Surprise Strike, which means that we would have been able to win this turn if they didn't have the Confiscate. Of course, they could have had something to kill Barriss, but based on how they were playing their actions, they probably wouldn't have had, which means that we were pretty set up. Of course, they could have Luke. They could have had another Anakin. They could have had all sorts of different things. But they would have had to go, we start off Overwhelming Barrage, kill Rebellious Hammerhead. I think their immediate play would be to attack with Anakin, and then we would have just won with Surprise Strike, right? Because that would have put us up to 11 damage. It would have been exactly lethal. So that Confiscate, 1 resource left in their hand. They had to Confiscate. Ooh, so close. Into the next matchup. I'm going to go mulligan this hand. Hopefully we get a little bit of a stronger one. This is definitely something that I'm a little bit more excited about. I'm going to resource the Karis and the Crafty Smugs. Secretive Sage is more likely to live on this board. Hans all day, every day, guys. The deck is incredible. Both Han Blue and Han Green. Absolutely love both those lists. So not surprised my opponents are just out here going to town with their Han lists. Not surprised whatsoever. Let's go ahead and just deploy Shin here. And let's see what my opponent's going to do. They are going to resupply here, huh? Let's just claim initiative. And I would like to keep the Secretive Sage around here. So we will just go ahead and knock out the... Ooh, I think No Good to Be Dead's actually the resource here. We'll just go ahead and knock out the Gunji. Boom. Knock out the Gunji. My opponent's on 1,000,000 resources here, which is obviously very scary. We're going to go Talzin's Assassin, knock out that blue leader. So we're definitely in a good spot here. Definitely in a very good spot. They can knock out the Shin Hati, which is fine because... Ooh, quite good plays here, actually. Axe Wolves and Director Krennic. We're going to knock out the Han so they can't use their Han action this turn. They've got Kiadi, which is totally fine with us because we're going to go double shielded unit here. Pass. Double Darth Vader. I think I'm going to resource one of them because, again, Xian Flurry is what we're really looking for when we have that card. And we'll see what my opponent's going to do here. They're just going to start by hitting a unit, but they have 8 resources essentially to play with, which is very, very scary for sure. Very, very scary to deal with. Overwhelming Barrage coming in on 6 resources. Still a fantastic card, guys. Still a good card. They're going to hit the Axe Wolves. I think what I'll do here then is just get rid of the Kiadi, just to stall out an action, just to see what my opponent's going to do. We have a lot of options here with what we got on board. The Caloran back is definitely very, very scary, but what do we want to do here? So we can use Barriss to knock out Caloran back. I mean, I do not like our position all that much. So Hotshot Blaster plus, yeah, I just don't like where we're at. Let's go ahead and do this. Overwhelming Barrage on Barriss. We will hit this for one. We'll hit this for 6. I guess we will do this, and then we're gonna hit the Gunji and kill the Caloran back. Caloran back, obviously incredible play. Karis, I mean, we can go double play there. I'm really looking for Shin or Shin Flurry is what I really want. My opponent's gonna have value card after value card. Double Caloran back, obviously extremely gross for us to deal with. Just absolutely disgusting. We're gonna go ahead and shielded trigger, kill off the Kiadi, and we're gonna just try to kind of out tempo my opponent. Play the Shin, pass. Axe and Crafty. I do like the Axe. Crafty can be resourced here. They're going to knock out Barriss probably. Potentially that we should have just left the Gunji and Caloran back on board. Oh my gosh. Look at this. I mean, look. Han Solo, guys. It is so gross dealing with this type of situation. Let's go ahead and just knock out Blue Leader here. And I think we're going to have to go with the Darth Vader play. We're going to go Darth Vader, shielded. And then we're going to go pass. Darth Tyrannus, Balin Skull. I think Axe is the resource here because we can go Balin and Darth Tyrannus. But Darth Vader is really good here because we can attack and defeat the home one here. We just have to hope that my opponent doesn't have another Haymaker, which they obviously do. It's very clear that they will. Like, that's just kind of how this deck works. But, you know, that's totally okay. Do they have another play? They have a Force Throw, huh? Of course, their last card in hand is a Force Throw. Okay, let's just go ahead and claim initiative then. Another Darth Vader. I mean, I guess we won't resource anything here. Get in for 6. Yoda's a little bit scary here. They have to generate the Force first, and they have to find something to use the Force. So we'll see. What does my opponent have? They have a Force Throw. Sure, they can hit my Secretive Sage. That's fine. We will get in for 5 here. Double Force Throw. Very, very scary. Another Hotshot Blaster in the resource pile, actually, from Home Wall, which is really, really powerful. Blue Leader, part 1,000,000. That is incredible. Let's go Vader, shield token. My opponent just had Caloran back, home 1, Yoda, home 1. Like, how do we even play? How do we even play, guys? It's crazy. Oh, wow, they made that attack? I don't think that's a very strong attack at all, actually. We're going to hit Yoda and then kill off home 1 here. That was... I don't know about that attack. I think I just claim initiative and hope to find something to deal with Darth Vader. Blue Leader, part 1,000,000 for my opponent. I respect it. They're going to get in some damage. We are going to Hotshot Blaster in for 8. It's a lot of damage here. Shield token looking pretty juicy. Let's go Talzin's Assassin. We don't need to use the Force. And then they're going to claim initiative. We got Trust Your Instincts, which actually can potentially win us the game here. We will see if it will. Do they have another ambusher? Is this another Blue Leader? They've got Yoda. Okay, Yoda definitely makes it a little bit tricky for us. Let's go and attack in for 4. And we'll see what my opponent's got as a follow-up. So they've had 2 Yodas, 2 Kelleran Becks, 2 home ones. Definitely a stacked hand from my opponent. We'll go ahead and waylay the Yoda back to hand. They don't have the Force right now, which is totally fine with us. We actually have a very good chance of winning here. They're going to play Yoda again. I don't know if they realize that they don't have the Force. And we actually have the win here with Trust Your Instincts. So, oh, they have a Sentinel. Ooh, that's kind of brutal. We're going to play Shin then. And then they're going to claim initiative. Okay, I was wondering if I should have just claimed there. They have a Kelleran back. That's a Force unit. Ooh. Home 1. Ooh. Ooh. It's getting so close to be able to lose here. So what do we do here? We trust your instincts. Knock out Obi-Wan and then have the win because it's just restore 1. Did we really just beat? Yeah. Did we really just beat triple Kelleran Beck, double Home 1, and double Yoda? Did we really just do that? No, we can't have done that. Oh my gosh, we actually did it. GG! It's crazy that we just ran through triple Kelleran Beck, double Home 1, and double Yoda. Wow, that was incredibly gross, guys. Even double Force throw. I mean, look at what we just had to deal with, guys. Look at what we just had to deal with. That was gross. That was kind of nasty. Those Vaders were absolutely disgustingly good, by the way. Taking out those space units were so important. That was just super strong. I mean, look at what we just had to go through. I mean, we went through so much of our deck. I can't believe we actually got there. I thought the game was for sure over as soon as they deployed that second Kelleran back. But we got there. We fought through it. Woo! That was a good game. Okay, into the next matchup. We get ourselves a Kylo Ren, which is certainly scary. This is one of those leaders where game 1, I think it's going to have a really disproportionately high win rate. And then when you flip over to game number 2, when you can sideboard, this is one of those cards which I think is going to get a lot worse. We're going to resource the 2 events because my opponent's really not going to probably do anything a whole lot. They got Heirloom Lightsaber, which makes me think they're going to be playing Anakins. They're going to be playing all sorts of random stuff to kind of just get value as they go along. Covert Strength, easy resource here. I'd love to be able to Surprise Strike plus Director Krennic this turn, but unfortunately, I don't have a extra resource here, so can't do that. Instead, we're just going to Director Krennic on turn 2. Not a happy play. I'd rather have like a Shin here on turn 2. That's crazy, by the way. They're going to go Inquisitor's Lightsaber, the other Dr. Pershing. That's awesome, by the way. Let's go to Claim Initiative. That's sick. That is absolutely sick. Really cool stuff from my opponent. Covert Strength back into the resource pile. Actually, I'm going to keep it in my hand, and I'm going to resource. Is it the Surprise Strike? Yeah, I think it is. That is so funny. Let's go ahead and ambush first, hit the Dr. Pershing, and then get the shield. And then we can knock out Dr. Pershing with this Director Krennic, potentially. We'll see what my opponent decides to do here. I want to keep the Covert Strength in hand because it is free. It is totally free to do this turn. And I will go ahead and knock out the Dr. Pershing. It is kind of obnoxious. We will play the Covert Strength on the Darth Tyrannus, give it a little experience token, and heal it up. My opponent, no controlling cards yet. Inquisitor's Lightsaber doing some major work here. That is so funny, actually. We can literally play nothing this turn. Ooh, Darth Vader and Darth Tyrannus, not exactly the cards you want to see here. No glory only results. Yeah, I think the game is probably over at this point. Once this guy comes down, he's going to be absolutely incredibly strong, and that's going to be hard to deal with without... I mean, we don't have any plays to make here. We don't have any plays whatsoever. Chien Flurry. If we had Chien Flurry, the game would be completely over. So that's one of those things that we will wait for, because it will literally win us the game. If they deploy Kylo and we Shian Flurry, like, the game is essentially over. So really just kind of waiting on that moment. Yeah, we'll just play out a Darth Vader and give a shield token to himself. My opponent can do their whatever they want. They can deploy their Kylo and put a bunch of upgrades on him. But Shian Flurry, guys, that is the card that deals with Kylo. We do have an answer, right? Like, it just makes it, oh, they have double power of the dark side. Sure. Excellent situation for them. Double Overwhelming Barrage. I'm going to resource one of them, actually, because I do not need that anymore. We're going to go Darth Vader again. I can't wait for Shian Flurry at this point. So we're just going to have to hope that, my opponent can do something here. I will deploy Barriss, and I mean, they could deploy the Kylo, and it is what it is. They could do the craving power and do all that stuff. Here comes the craving power and probably the Inquisitor's lightsaber. Yep. That is what we expected. Guys, Shian Flurry would have been so crazy this game. We just don't have many options here. Let's go ahead and... I suppose we go Overwhelming Barrage, hit Kylo for 7. I mean, we still have an answer if they don't have like a removal option, but they probably have removal. We couldn't even use Barriss' ability because my opponent had dealt with some of my early game units, and we did use our one force to... Oh, wow. Okay. We're getting somewhere. Kylo Ren is dead. He's dead. What has my opponent got to finish out the game? Are they playing Avengers? Are they playing Devastators? I mean, I don't know what they've got, but... Oh, they're just going to claim initiative. Okay. I mean... I think my opponent's going to be probably winning this game. Timely Reinforcement Walker. Nice. Timely Reinforcement Walker is a good choice. Every single one of our units has shielded, though, so that's pretty cool. They are going to discard Super Laser Technician and... What, did they draw a card? I don't know. I don't know what they did, to be honest. I can't tell based on what I'm seeing here. All right, they're going to claim initiative. We're going to go triple shielded unit pass. Lots of events in our hand. Hotshot Blaster in our resource pile. We'll see what my opponent's got here. Overwhelming Barrage doesn't actually do anything. Just remove some shields, which is kind of cool. I think what we do here is actually trust your instincts, so we can knock out the Reinforced Walker without even losing our shield token. We're definitely not in a winning position. My opponent has 1 million damage on base. They probably have a lot of late game cards, Avengers, things of that nature that are just going to be absolutely devastating here. Traitorous is actually not too bad for us, because we can waylay that back to hand, and we can just replay it. So Traitorous, not as scary. Vigilance, huh? Vigilance is pretty good. They're going to make us discard. Yep. Vigilance, huh? Pass. Couple cards. Definitely not liking our position. Again, we dealt with that. If we had a Shian Flurry just to deal with Kylo Ren instead of just having to deploy so many different things to deal with him, it would have been so game over so quickly. But this is kind of the issue with this is you do need an answer to Kylo Ren. It is one of those cards that you do need an answer for. And unfortunately for us, they actually had a really fun combination with the Inquisitor's lightsaber on Dr. Pershing earlier on. And then they had the double power of the dark side, which is going to be just absolutely menacing. Here we just go, I mean, we don't even have the force to do anything too crazy here. So I think we just go surprise strike in, kill Vader. No force to use Talzin's Assassin, knock out the Supremacy tie. which is a little bit unfortunate. Craving power. Oof, that is very brutal, actually. Craving power, knocking out another unit, and that's probably going to be GG. Yeah, it's going to be GG. I mean, I could play out like Krennic, and I could play out Talzin's Assassin, but Talzin's Assassin doesn't even kill anything. So, I'm going to use Hotshot Blast here to get in for... I mean, I haven't even hit my opponent's base at all this whole game, right? They have another Darth Vader. Yeah, we can't. After they play the Darth Vader, it is GG. Good stuff from my opponent. Well played. Okay, into the next matchup. We've got ourselves a match up against Obi-Wan again. Got the Virgin's Temple, but we have the initiative this time, which is way more exciting. We have the Secretive Sage, which I do like. Waylay on turn 2, and we'll see what my opponent's got. They have the Gunji. That's fine. Gunji isn't as scary as some other things that could have been played. Overwhelming Barrage going to be the resource here, even though it's incredibly powerful. We need the options here. We're going to get an attack immediately. Just kind of see what my opponent's going to do. Maybe they have General's Blade. If they do, fine, we'll waylay. I think it's pretty risky to do it on this board. They're actually going to go with the Obi-Wan Kenobi. So what we'll do is go Axe, just play a shielded unit. And we have the Force, which means we can ambush whatever unit that they may. If they attack with Gunji into one of our shielded units, then we can ambush Gunji and finish it off, which is nice. See if they use the Obi-Wan action. I think they should. And I think they should use it on probably Gunji, just to have a little bit of a spread of power and toughness. But I don't think not taking initiative here is really going to harm them. Yep, we're going to claim initiative. We got nothing else to do. They're going to attack base. Okay, I think that's pretty reasonable as well. Ooh, guys, that was a good draw. Very, very strong draw. Let's go ahead and attack Obi-Wan here, and we'll see what my opponent decides to do. I'm looking to Darth Tyrannus here. Knock out the Obi-Wan. Actually, you know what? We will just hit it with both shielded units then, if that's how they're going to play it. Not an exciting play by any means. Ooh, General's Blade here, huh? That's a little bit scary. That is for sure a little bit scary. Hit it for 4. I would have thought my opponent would have gotten rid of the General's Blade by now, but it definitely fits very, very well on this board. If they have another Obi-Wan here, it is incredibly strong. They don't, which is really, really good. We have the Covert Strength, which I will go ahead and utilize on the Darth Tyrannus here just to get a 5/4 out. And we have the Chien Flurry plus the Darth Vader next turn, which is going to allow us to recover in this game. Obi-Wan Kenobi and experience token is just so incredibly strong, guys. It's so incredibly strong. We can't afford to ignore their units either. All right, we're going to hit Gunji. And we'll see what my opponent does after the fact. They could play Kelleran Beck this turn, which is disgusting. Blue Leader. Okay, Blue Leader's not as scary as I would have thought could come down. Let's go ahead and Crafty Smugs here. They're going to deploy Obi-Wan. We will attack for 2 into the base. And then we're going to Chien Flurry. We're going to Chien Flurry, which is going to be great. Claim initiative. And let's see what they've got. Do they have a 2-drop? They don't. So I'm loving our spot, actually. I not loving. That's an overstatement. I am happy with the potential to recover in this game. Shield token, ambush, hit this, forces with us, defeat the Obi-Wan. And that's not a bad position. Not a bad position to be in. We have the Overrolling Barrage for next turn, potentially, as well. Even if we don't have the Force, it can be utilized. Talzin's Assassin looks pretty good. I was really worried if they had like a Kelleran Beck on that turn, it would have been absolutely disgusting. But Shatterpoint here doesn't actually do a whole lot. Shatterpoint, yeah, you dealt with the Vader, but like Vader already did what he needed to do. I mean, that was essentially it was a 3 for 2 because we had to use 2 cards in, but my goodness, that was incredible from Vader. Let's go ahead and resource probably the Karis, actually, because I'd rather just get another shielded unit down. All right, what do you got, opponent? They have a Chirrut Imwe. Okay, we're just going to Overwhelming Barrage that. Overwhelming Barrage, knock it out of the park. They can play a 3-drop. We would probably kill it with Barriss and then attack their base for 4. Definitely want to maintain control of the board. We have 7 HP remaining on base, which is very, very scary amount. Okay, this is actually different. I think I'm going to attack base and then get rid of the Yaddle here. So we'll attack Yaddle for 2 and then attack it with a Secretive Sage and attack base for 6. So we have more damage on the base, but they don't get to the restore and they don't have a unit to get their force generating and maybe do something that we really don't want them to have. Balin is actually a really nice one. It can flicker something. Director Krennic, Talisman's Assassin, all solid options. Definitely not liking that. Let's go Director Krennic here. And they're going to claim the initiative. I'm going to shrink down the Luke and kill it because that could end so many bad ways for us if we do not. Like, let's say I were to attack there and then they claim initiative. And they have something like, so I attack at a base and they have, I don't even know what they could have. Actually, maybe it's not that big of a deal because they probably won't have an immediate damage source. So maybe it's a mistake actually killing Luke there. But I think it's also just higher value play because we're likely to win in this state of the game. I don't know what my opponent could have. They attacked for 6. We would have deployed out. We still would have deployed out Talisman's Assassin and Krennic. So we would have attacked for 4. They would have been at 22. They attack us for 3, right? They knock out Talisman's Assassin. So they go back down to 19. And then we attack with Barriss, which was now to 23. And then we attack with Director Krennic, which finishes off the game. So yes, we would have had exactly lethal if they had anything else. Like they attack with they kill Talisman's Assassin. And then we attack with Barriss. And then I don't know, they could have like Rivals Fall plus something. They could have maybe a Sentinel immediately instead of even attacking. Like, let's say they play, I don't know, Chirrut. Then the Chirrut uses the force and we actually can't get through it. So, yeah, I think it was probably better to just finish off the Luke. Chirrut would have actually really messed us up. So, yeah, happy with what we decided there. But really, really interesting game. Definitely the Vader, Sheehan Flurry. Incredibly powerful, guys. All right, what do we learn with Barriss? Well, it was actually decent. It wasn't like incredibly strong or anything like that. I do think we had some really powerful combinations. I was debating on what flavor of Barriss I wanted to go. One of the things I thought about is like Barriss Aggression, because you can play like Force Unit on turn 1. Heck, even the ambushing Force Unit on turn 1 and then use Barriss to force throw on turn 1, which actually could be good enough to close out the game, like, or to really dominate the early game. That's basically like using your Tarkin Town on turn 1, but then you're left with like a 1-2 or a 1-1, which isn't that crazy powerful. You could do other things like Barriss Command, which I said with Mystic Monastery, and get a 4-cost Overwhelming Barrage instead of 6 cost like in this deck. But I decided to go with Vigilance at the end of the day, and the main reason was, yes, we have some really, really nice turn 1 plays like the Secretive Sage and Karis to generate the force for us. But actually, more importantly, there are 2 mega payoffs to be in Vigilance, and that is Talisman's Assassin with the force. It is excellent. We saw it in this game many, many times, or I saw in this deck many, many times where Talisman's Assassin was doing some amazing things. And the other one is the Sheehan Flurry plus Darth Vader combination. It's actually really powerful in this deck because in other decks, when you have to use that combination, it's 7 resources, and that can be a little bit too late. But in this deck, it's actually 6 because of Barriss, which is really, really powerful. Now, there are other options. Like I said, I think Barriss Aggression is a really, really good one to go with, because the problem with Cunning and Vigilance, if you're going to go with this like sort of tempo-oriented deck, which I went with, you really, really need to be reactive. And that's not something you want to be doing. If you go with Barriss Aggression, you could go with the 25 HP base where you just have to attack their base, and then you can do basically anything you want. Just play good units and then play things like open fire for cheap, play things like daring raid for free or force throw for free, and those types of cards, instead of actually going with this must attack with a force unit. I think this was, if this was a heroism card, Barriss that is, it would be a lot different because there's a lot better force early plays. Like if we were in cunning, vigilance on the heroism side of things, like we wouldn't have the Darth Vader, but we would have the Ezras of the world. We'd have the Ahsoka Tanos. We'd have the Yaddles, the Yodas, and all manner of other different options to use force units. So very, very interesting. I think Trust Your Instincts was actually a really, really good card in the deck. Also, we saw a couple times where that really came into play, but very, very solid. I'm curious as to how people will build this in the future. I definitely think this is like kind of like an early build that really misses a lot of things. Just playing through it beforehand, adjusting it already between that point, and then playing through it today. There were a lot of cards where I think I would want to go with potentially a little bit different direction, but very interesting to play with. And again, Darth Vader absolutely crushing games. Like that last game, that would not have been possible if we had not had Darth Vader Xian Flurry. That just wouldn't have happened. We would have just lost straight up. That would not have been a one game. Even against that Kylo player, if we had the Xian Flurry a little bit earlier, maybe we could have used that as a value engine to get us into the late game, but not quite. Thanks for watching, everyone, though. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and I'll see you all for the next one.